that Jude Bellingham is still interested in joining Liverpool and Liverpool will sanction the deal if Klopp believes he is the man to solve the midfield issues. This video is being brought to you with thanks to Surfshark. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to browse websites in other countries and keep you safe and secure from hackers. Surfshark allows you to virtually travel the world with just the tap of a finger. As an example, we here in Ireland can What is Afflix? We here in Ireland can watch other countries' Netflix libraries, unlock UK services such as BBC iPlayer, and of course that all-important Spanish DAZN account for football. Surfshark keeps you safe and secure by covering up everything that you do online. When your device connects to the internet, all this information is, in a way, blurred out. This is particularly effective when you're out and about on public Wi-Fi, maybe you're in college or at a cafe. It keeps your information safe and secure from hackers. With a Surfshark, just ask Surfshark. Just here, have a Surfshark. Johnny? Mildred, Surfsharks? Surfshark allow you to use unlimited devices on just one subscription, meaning if you so wish, you can grant access to your friends and family. On top of that, Surfshark offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you don't like it, they refund you. It is that simple. Our sign-up offer gives you a whopping 83% off. That's right, I did say 83% off and 3 months additional free. Simply scan the QR code on your screen right now or use the link in the description, putting in the code Anfield Agenda at checkout. So the Anfield Talk put out a tweet quoting Paul Joyce and said, for those waking up this morning, Paul Joyce has confirmed that Jude Bellingham is still interested in joining Liverpool and Liverpool will sanction the deal if Klopp believes he is the man to solve the midfield issues. He does believe it. We know he believes it. Let's go get Jude. Then there's some quotes from Paul Joyce that said it must cause Klopp concern that he may need far more than a silver bullet signing who would monopolise so much of his transfer kitty. The question is if spending most of the transfer budget on one player is good. Is the right idea. For me, I don't buy into this idea that it comes as a surprise in any way, shape or form to Klopp what we need in midfield, or that it will come as a surprise to those higher up in the club that Jude Bellingham is going to cost a load of money. That's very evident. We've known it. You don't go nearly 2 years tracking a player, you know, putting the groundwork in, talking to his family, his representatives, trying to make sure that, you know, you're in the conversation, that he's your first choice. If you aren't serious about it, you don't know how much it's going to cost. So I don't buy into this notion that somehow there might have to be a bit of a rejigging, or the club should know that this was a summer where we needed to go big. Like 200 million shouldn't have been out of the question for Liverpool to go and spend this summer before sales. So Jude Bellingham, let's say he costs in pounds sterling, let's go with 110 million. That still leaves 90 million quid to get in 2 more midfielders. And yes, you will bring in another centre-back, but if you could get Evan Ndika for free and sell Joel Matip, which might cover the signing on bonus for Evan Ndika, then you're still pretty okay with the pot of money. And yes, wages, I know that's a different scenario. I don't know what Evan Ndika would look for, or if Liverpool will pay him a top wage. But do you know what pissed me off? And I'm going to be really honest here, right? So we're going to speak Bellingham. We're going to be all positive about it. We're going to confirm that he wants to come. We're confirming with the press as well that he's still interested in Liverpool, and the idea of no Champions League football won't put him off. Not my words. Again, go to the media and you'll find those. What does annoy me is, we've spoken about all this, right? And I've said to you guys that maybe Jurgen Klopp will be a bit concerned that he has to spend so much of his budget. Paul Joyce has said the same thing. And then I read something today that said that Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp really want James Milner to stay on for another year. Now, this is where I start to get a little bit annoyed about this scenario, because if money's a concern, then you can't be putting money for a player you already have who gets very little minutes, might be great around the dressing room, might be a leader, might set the standards in training, but you can't be putting out 100, 120, 140 grand a week, which is 5, 6 or 7 million quid a year, to a midfielder who, quite frankly, we don't really need. And if you are, and you are adamant that you want, if you're adamant that you want to bring in Milner for another season, then in my humble opinion, you got to get rid of Henderson. I don't want to get rid of Henderson. No way. I'd rather keep Henderson and say thank you, but, you know, all the best to James Milner. But I don't think Klopp can afford to carry 2 aging midfielders on relatively high wages and expect us not to have more injuries again next season. We got to be factual about this. We got to look at why we're suffering this season. We're suffering because Hendo's legs look like they're gone. Milner hasn't got the impact that he once had early on in his career. Thiago has had injuries again, which means it's a stop-start. And that Naby Keita has been an absolute flop and a waste of money. So we don't need those same problems. You need to address it and draw a line under it. And yes, you need an experienced midfielder in there. You've got Thiago, we'll have one more year. But to me, it's one. You've got to have one of Henderson and Milner. If Klopp wants it to be Milner, that's up to Klopp, but I don't think we can afford to have two. Again, I'm not advocating for Liverpool to sell Jordan Henderson. I'm merely stating that I don't think it's a good idea if we go into next season and still have those two as midfield options in the club. It doesn't sit well with me. I don't think it's the best use of money, and I don't think it's really trying to draw a line under this and build a second team. Is Paul Joyce one of the best journalists for Liverpool? Yes. You're not going to hear an if and or but here. The answer is quite simply yes. Paul Joyce is, to me, numero uno, top of the pile. When Paul Joyce writes or speaks, I listen because Paul Joyce is usually right on the money. I'm not a big fan of Henderson, said Antonio. Just let Milner go, said LFC Neves. I'd keep Milner over the captain if I'm being honest. Now, Hendo doesn't offer much anymore. It's a really, Mark, we got a poll on this because I think this is a really interesting question. I think I disagree. I think I'd rather keep Henderson over Milner. I guess it depends on what Klopp wants from that experienced midfielder. Does he want them to be in and around the squad for, just keeping the standards high? Well, I say keeping. They haven't been very high this season. Yeah, I just don't think you can complain about money in one scenario, which we do as a club, and then try and keep players who are naturally out of contract and we can just allow to move on. And again, 38 years of age next year, Jimmy Milner. I think he wants Milner as more of a backup to Trent rather than in midfield. Well, we have Calvin Ramsey. You've got Joe Gomez. You've got options at right back. We've got Connor Bradley, who, we can bring back in as well after his loan at the end of the season. And yes, Connor Bradley's probably thought of more as a wing back these days, but it's still another option. Give Milner a coaching role. Yes, that would work. Give James Milner a coaching role at the club, by all means. Then you get the best of what Klopp wants. You get to have him on the training pitch. You get to have him setting the standards. You got to have him, and it's footballing mind and intelligence, and you have him as an example to younger players, but you're not paying him 7 million quid a year. So yes, on that idea, I'd be all for it. Mace Custom said, if Milner signs an extension, I'll be fuming. He's pushing 40 for fuck's sake. We need to move on. Yes, we do. You're right. If we were a club like City, Chelsea, PSG, by all means, if money isn't an issue and you want to have him round just because, fair enough. But we need to be very clever with our money. We know we don't have these options of expensive mistakes, so we have to make every penny count in the transfer market. Do we think Jude to Liverpool is basically done? One side of it, yes. The fee between the clubs, I don't know anything about, so I can't give you any insight into that. That's maybe where your Paul Joyce's, your Fabrizios, your Ornstein, somebody else will probably be able to give you that side of it. But from my perspective, do I think that the decisions are made and do I think that he knows where he wants to go? Yes, I do. But I've always said that, right? So I'm not changing my position. Now, one thing I was really glad to see over the past 24 or 48 hours was that Bellingham still wants to join Liverpool, being publicly spoken about, because there was a lot of concern that if we missed out on Champions League football, that maybe Jude Bellingham wouldn't be interested. And I tried to say to you, I don't think that's the case. I think Jude Bellingham would look at it as a one-season blip, and whilst it would be better if we were in the Champions League, I don't think it will be a make or break thing, because I think he'll look at it and go, well, I'll make sure we're back in there. I don't think we're as bad and as far away as other people seem to think. Yes, we've been unlucky with injuries, but we're also, have to admit, we do have aging players in certain positions. So for me, I think Bellingham will look at it, much like I think Van Dijk looked at Liverpool when he was joining, and think, I can go in there, I can sort out that back line, and I think Jude will go, I can get into that midfield, I can give it the legs and the engine that it needs, put another couple of players around me. You've got Stefan Bajcetic, maybe one or two more signings the club are looking to make, and I think Jude thinks that Liverpool will be back challenging, because that's genuinely how I feel about it. I can't and won't make any excuses for this season. I don't think we're in as bad shape as some people seem to think. We've refreshed some of the defence, and we're looking to do a bit more of that in the summer. Our forward line has been refreshed. We've brought in Darwin, we've brought in Diaz, we've brought in Jota. You've got Ben Doak, you've got Cade Gordon. Obviously, you've still got Mohamed Salah there as a senior pro. We've brought in Cody Gakpo. So that's been done. We've refreshed that age group. We're doing it with defence. Brought in Kanade, going to bring in another centre back. Brought in Calvin Ramsey at the right-hand side. So, yeah, I don't think we're that bad. I just think the midfield is so in need, so bad, that's what's causing us to look worse defensively and just to look like we do. Like, you could have drove a truck through our midfield in that second half against Manchester City. It was so bad.